Hey everyone, welcome to another deck tech. Today I'll be deck teching Izzet Typhoon Delver, and this is going to be one of the two decks I'll be playing for the next couple of weeks, the other deck being Simic Typhoon Control. Very similar decks, obviously the main difference being that one is playing blue-red and the other one's playing blue-green, and it's, following along the theme that I've had since the last set of deck techs, where I'm doing two decks at the same time and they have very similar builds, but there are some major differences that separate the two, and usually the strategies are slightly different between both. So I'm going to be showing you Izzet Typhoon Delver right now, and later on in the day I'll be putting up the deck tech for the Simic version or whatever order I end up choosing. So let's take a look at the core. At the core we have Shark Typhoon. Let's be honest, it's going to be the core of the other deck as well. What I wanted when I was playing Shark Typhoon was I wanted to play a deck that wasn't going to be playing 22, 23, 24, 25 and plus lands, because that's the type of decks that you see often playing Shark Typhoon, and I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to play a deck that was playing more spells and less lands, and I still wanted Shark Typhoon to work and be relevant to the deck. So in Izzet Typhoon Delver, it's a Delver deck with some modifications. We still have to keep a high flip rate for Delver, which is important. So Shark Typhoon does not flip Delver because it's an enchantment, but as we move along to the rest of the cards, you'll see that the flip rate is still really high. We meet the minimum requirement of 25 instants and sorceries. So Delver of Secrets in general is a great tempo creature, and I believe that this deck is very much true to the tempo nature of Delver, except for Shark Typhoon, which I suppose is a bit more control-ish than anything else. So Shark Typhoon, we're running 19 lands in this build, and it does mean that oftentimes Shark Typhoon is going to be cycled for some amount of lands and not necessarily hard cast for 6, but it does also provide inevitability. If the games do grind out, you are able to hard cast Shark Typhoon and then start generating flying shark tokens, which is still kind of funny, to finish off your opponent. And you'll see in the matches I'll be posting today and most likely next week that I very often don't cast Shark Typhoon as a permanent. I cycle it, and the token that it generates helps me win out games. The other core of this deck that I consider at least core is Sprite Dragon. It's a card I've been wanting to play for a long time. I think it's a pretty cool little creature, and I think it plays pretty well in this deck. It helps us, increase the aggro level, increase the creature count, increase the amount of pressure that we're putting on our opponent, and of course our opponent is going to have to choose yet again what they want to kill. Do they want to bolt our Delver of Secrets? Do they want to bolt our Sprite Dragon? Because the Sprite Dragon left unchecked will grow very quickly, and it'll help close out games very, very quickly. So it becomes a concern for our opponent. So our goal here is to overwhelm our opponent and give them too many options in terms of removal, and ideally they fold in the process. So that pretty much sums up a lot of the threats that we have. Moving on to the only other threat that I would have to mention here is Stormwing Entity. So Stormwing Entity, obviously you're not going to be casting it for 5 mana. The main goal here is to be casting it for 1 blue and 1 colorless, and for that price there are very few cards in Modern that can beat a 3/3 flyer with prowess that allows you to scry 2 when it enters the battlefield. Stormwing Entity is just an awesome card in decks that can support it. In Izzet Typhoon Delver, you can support it, and you'll see that with instances that we're running, in particular Manamorphose. But yeah, there are many ways that you can get Stormwing Entity down early, and yeah, that's just going to put, again, an insane amount of pressure on your opponent. And what's cool about the threats here is that all of our threats are in the air. Every single threat that we play, even the shark tokens that are being generated by Shark Typhoon, are flying. So there are very few times where I get to play a Modern deck where all of our threats are flyers, and in this deck we can, and I think that's pretty fun. I mean, that's pretty awesome, let's be honest. So yeah, let's move on to Permission. So nothing too crazy here. We're running 4 times Force of Negation and 3 times Mana Leak. I think this is a combination that I'm going to be happy with, but we'll see. I mean, Force of Negation again allows me to tap out more often, more comfortably, knowing that I'll be able to counter a potential removal spell or some sort of combo piece on my opponent's turn. That's why I do enjoy playing a full playset of Force of Negations, but I can play around that number depending on how I feel with how the deck works, against other matchups. Mana Leak, again, is more of a permanent response to spells as opposed to Remand, which kind of bounces spells back to their opponent's hand. And I think that we definitely want to get rid of spells in this deck and not necessarily capitalize on drawing cards. So, the permission set is pretty straightforward. Moving on to removal, very simple. We're running 4 times Lightning Bolt. We're playing red, we're playing Lightning Bolt. You play 4 when you're playing Lightning Bolt. Simple as that. I don't really need to expand here. I think for main board removal, 4 Lightning Bolts are more than enough. If you are playing a meta where you need more spot removal, then you would run either more in the main or you would run more removal on the side. Cantrips. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. So we're running 4 of the following 3 cards. Serum Visions, Sleight of Hand, Metamorphose. So Serum Visions and Sleight of Hand, again, really there to sculpt our hands. It allows us to increase the amount of, keeps, in opening hand keeps essentially. So if you open up with 7 cards and none of them are threats, but at least 1 or 2 of them are Serum Visions or Sleight of Hand, that's usually a keep. Whereas normally if you have no real way to dig through your deck and you have no threats in the opening hand, you chuck that away. So, I always find that these cards, serve more than one purpose. They're not just cantrips, but they also help us keep opening hands that would otherwise be thrown away. So Serum Visions, don't have to say much about Serum Visions. Sleight of Hand has a place, in some blue decks. I think it has a place here. I needed a 1 mana cantrip other than Serum Visions, and Sleight of Hand really fit that role. If I was playing Simic, the Simic version of this deck, I probably wouldn't be playing Sleight of Hand. Actually, I know I'm not. I do play 4 Mishra's Baubles instead, but I'm not playing Delver in that build. I am playing Delver here, so we need as many instants and sorcerers as we can. Metamorphose is our main engine for getting Storming Entity down cheap. It essentially allows you to cast Storming Entity for 2. Or for free, technically, because you're casting Metamorphose, you're drawing a card, and then you're using the 2 mana that you generate Metamorphose to cast Storming Entity, and that's just a very powerful move to, execute. In particular on turn 2, but it could be done on any turn, realistically, and it's still powerful in terms of tempo. So, Metamorphose, you definitely need it. Almost certainly keeping all 4 in your main, even in sideboarded games. So, pump spells. I'm trying out 2 Mutagenic Growth just to kind of round out our instants and sorceries. Not too sure if I want to keep Mutagenic Growth or if I'm going to remove it, but for now it's been testing pretty well. As I grind more and as I play more matches, I'll know for sure if Mutagenic Growth has a place here or not. If I do remove it, it might be replaced with removal or permission. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And last but not least, we get to the lands. So nothing crazy here. If you see me play Teamer decks before, you're going to notice that this mana base is very similar, minus green producing lands. So we're running 2 Steam Vents, 2 Spiral of Canals, 2 Prismatic Vistas, 4 Misty Rainforests, 4 Scalding Tarns, 4 basics, 4 basic islands, and 1 basic mountain. So, pretty much allowing us to be Blood Moon proof. I do run Blood Moon in the side. I recommend you do as well. Keep in mind, I don't go through sideboards for my deck techs anymore, but I will be releasing videos soon on sideboarding in general for different wedges and different color combinations in Modern, and I think those will apply to pretty much any deck I deck tech. So stay tuned for that, just a future plug. But yeah, I think the mana base here works pretty well. We have enough targets for our fetches, and we also have, Spiral of Canal that allows us to get our red and blue without, hurting ourselves. So nothing crazy here in terms of explanation on choices. And that's pretty much it. So Izzet Typhoon Delver. I have been playing this deck already a bit, and I'm going to be playing it a lot more as of today. And I'll be posting more matches next Monday, but I'll be posting a match later on today, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, this looks really fun. Again, all of your threats, every single threat is up in the air, apart from an unflipped Delver, but that doesn't really count. Alright, let's just get past that. And that alone sounds fun to me. And being able to play Shark Typhoon is just icing on the cake. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you enjoy this deck as well. I'll be letting you know in a couple of weeks what my thoughts are and the viability in Modern, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy my content in general, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on Twitter. All that stuff really helps me out a lot. You have no idea. It might be a simple click for you, but for me, it means a hell of a lot more. Thank you to my patrons as well for all of your support. Thanks, and have a good one.